This is just a sample of the audiobook. To get the complete audiobook, access the link posted in the first comment.
Neptune, a few surnames add to the confusion. One such is Lucas, which is French Luca in origin, but was imported to England at the Norman invasion and anglicised by the time of Trafalgar. In some cases, the spelling and punctuation in quotations from eyewitnesses have been modernised, and occasionally abbreviations in the original are given in full, but the words themselves have not been changed. When monetary values have been mentioned, the modern equivalent, using a rule of thumb of multiplying the value by 50, has sometimes also been provided, but this can be no more than a very rough guide. At the time, sailors had various approximate measurements for distances that are no longer widely used. A pistol shot was about 25 yards, a musket shot approximately 200 yards, and a gunshot about 1,000 yards. A cable was 200 yards, a fathom 6 feet, and a league 6,116 yards, equivalent to 3 nautical miles. The nautical mile was then equivalent to 6,116 feet, but is now a distance of 6,080 feet. A knot was regarded as the speed of 1 nautical mile per hour, or sometimes as just the distance of 1 nautical mile. Speeds at that time were still recorded as knots per hour and not simply in knots, as used today. For those better acquainted with metric measurements, the following should be noted. 1 foot equals 0.30 metres. 1 yard equals 0.91 metres. 1 mile equals 1.61 kilometres. The Battle of Trafalgar is one of those rare events in history about which everyone knows something, because almost instantly it became part of British heritage and assumed almost mythical status. Here, in the words of people who were present, is the true story of that battle. Prologue. Opening fire. The first shots from the French ship Fougueux, meaning ardent, fell short, but the enemy fleet sailed steadily closer, slowly reducing the range. Then, just after noon on Monday, the 21st of October, 1805, the Fougueux fired the first broadside at the nearest British ship, which was the Royal Sovereign. The Battle of Trafalgar had begun. The master-at-arms of the Fougueux, Pierre Serveau, made a vivid record of how the battle unfolded. The Fougueux, a man-of-war of 74 guns, fired the first gun in the fleet. As she did so, she hoisted her colours. She continued her cannonade, firing on the English flagship, which was a greatly superior vessel in size, height, guns, and the number of her crew. Her main deck and upper deck guns, in fact, could fire right down onto our decks, and in that way all our upper deck men employed in working the ship and the infantry marksmen posted on the gangways were without cover and entirely exposed. We had also, according to our bad habits in the French Navy, fired over 100 rounds from our big guns at long range before the English ship had practically snapped a gunlock. It was indeed not until we found ourselves side by side and yard-arm to yard-arm with the English flagship, the Royal Sovereign, that she fired at all. Then she gave us a broadside from 55 guns and carronades, hurtling forth a storm of cannonballs, big and small, and musket shot. I thought the Fougueux was shattered to pieces, pulverized. Although the shock of the Royal Sovereign's first broadside had quite literally knocked the Fougueux sideways, the damage was largely confined to the upper decks and rigging, as Serveau quickly realized. The storm of projectiles that hurled themselves against and through the hull on the port side made the ship heel to starboard. Most of the sails and rigging were cut to pieces, while the upper deck was swept clear of the greater number of the seamen working there and of the soldier sharpshooters. Our gun decks below had, however, suffered less severely. There, not